Hello, today I've got another version of the Lumintop FW4A, this time with the FW4A with 4 LEDs. Output here increases from 2800 lumens to 3600 lumens, depending on the LEDs that have been chosen. Thanks to Lumintop for sending this to me to take a look at and review. Hey guys, I appreciate you liking this video and subscribing to the channel if I've earned that. Don't forget to hit that bell icon too. It really helps out. Packaging here is the same as the FW4A and other similar lights in this line. A nice brown box with a slipcover showing the light, no technical information. In the box, your light sits here. You get a little label reminding you to only insert batteries from the head. You get a spare set of O-rings. In this light, especially, you get a glow-in-the-dark diffuser that just fits over the head of the light. This is form-fitting and nicely tight fit, and when it's on, it's even a little bit hard to pull off. You do get the manual here, which is a good manual. It is quite thick as it's in several languages, and it includes a Anduril UI chart as well, which you'll want with this light. Construction here is basically the same as the FW4A with a slightly larger head here that you can see. I've got the FW4A in my right hand and the FW4A in my left hand. The body tubes are identical between the two lights, and I have no issues with the machining or the anodizing on either. There does seem to be less options, at least from Lumintop Direct, in colors or materials when compared to the FW4A. I do have a copper FW4A here just for comparison. That said, if there's anything you want to do with the body or the tail or the clip, that should work on the FW4A, as the only thing that's different between the two is the head. So that means you can run an 18350 with this light if you want and make it real short, put different materials in for the body and tail cap. It's up to you. One other difference physically than my early FW4A is the serial number is engraved here on the FW4A on the tail cap. I don't mind that. It's nice out of place. Other than that, there's really no markings on the light. One thing I will talk about is the reliability issue. The FW4A had a lot of issues early on. It's far from a perfect design in that regard. That said, retaining rings have been added in the tail and the head to improve button issues and other issues. The inner body tube here is still a potential issue. Don't pull it out. I did that by mistake on my FW4A, and it's still best practice to open the light only from the head. If you run into trouble, the budget light forums are still your best place to go to how to fix your light. Most issues are fixable from what I've seen if you want to put in a little bit of effort to troubleshoot. My FW4A has had no issues here and was reliable from the factory. Here's just a quick picture of the inside. You do have that retaining ring in there. You can see all the chips and that nice beefy spring. I measured the length of this light at 92.8 millimeters, minimum diameter at the body at 21.5, maximum diameter at the head at 28.5 millimeters. This is only a 3 millimeter increase over the FW4A here. Side by side, it's very hard to tell they're different lights other than there's no knurling here. Again, from the top, you can see they are very, very similar. If I compare it to my MSR D4 here, you can see lengthwise, the MSR is just a hair longer. Diameter-wise, they are very, very similar. The MSR and Lumintop are basically the exact same in that regard. But the big difference here with the MSR, you've got the part on the body here that juts out with that, or with that front switch. I think that makes it seem a little bit thicker than it is. With the FW4A, you don't have that problem. Retention here is decent, but I wish the clip was a deeper carry from the factory myself. The increase in size with the FW4A is negligible from the FW4A. Like I said, only 3 millimeters in the head, and it's less than many of the custom triple lights that I carry around on a regular basis. The FW4A is available with many different emitter options, much like other FW series of lights. My light here is running a Cree XHPL high LED and cool wide at 6500 Kelvin, and while 6500 Kelvin isn't my favorite tint, the XPL highs here aren't too bad for a non-high CRI option. With the XPL highs, Lumintop says you can get 3600 lumens versus the FW4A's 2600 lumens using the same LED. Other LED tints that are available are the Luminous SST20 at 4000 Kelvin, 90 CRI, producing 2100 lumens, the Nisha 219C at 4000 Kelvin, and an XPL high in neutral 5000 Kelvin tint. There's no real warm option like there was with the FW4A. All LEDs are mounted on a copper PCB to help with heat dissipation, and you can see here at the top you've even got the model name of the light inside, which I kind of like. Mine came with a clear optic here. It's a Carrillo style. versus you can see my FW4A has a light frost to it. The beam is, the FW4A is floody with a more softer focused hot center, and you can kind of see that here with my video lights on. The center is fairly round with a small tint shift in the middle, and the outer spill has a little bit of a square to it. I didn't notice it outside, but noticed it more close up when really looking indoors. Here are my night shots for the Lumintop FW4A. This is running the Cree XPL high emitters in cool white, 6500 Kelvin. I've got it running here in a real low mode, and we can demonstrate the ramping ability of Anduril firmware. Nice fast ramp, and if you don't like the ramping, there is the stepped mode too. It's got a nice even beam pattern, as you can see here. It's a Carrillo style optic. If I take it all the way up to high, you can see it does a nice job. This is turbo. This is the full 3600 lumens, and it really does put out heat pretty quickly. Massive flood, but at the same time, decent amount of throw. We can see we're throwing lights all the way off across the street there with those tall pine trees. Your question to me might be, is 4 LEDs really that much different from the 3 LEDs on the FW4A? And what I've got here is my original FW4A. This is also running the Cree XPL high LEDs, but this is running the warm tint version. On maximum output, this light's putting out about 2800 lumens, which is here. Quite a bit of light, as you can see, and this is the FW4A, so 3600, 2800. You can see 2800 is quite a bit, and just in filming this video, about 2-3 minutes here, I haven't had the FW4A on high and turbo that entire time, but most of it, the light is getting to the point where it's too hot to hold. I'm holding just the very tip of the tail cap, and it's pretty damn hot, and you can see that it is stepping down on its own here. You can no longer see the trees. If I bump up, you can see how much it's stepped down. At more reasonable output levels, the light does get along a little bit better for heat management and is a little bit more efficient than 3 LEDs. One additional thing I wanted to cover was, if the light isn't floody enough or diffused for you, the FW4A comes with this silicon glow-in-the-dark diffuser. Normal beam pattern of the light, I've got it held right next to the camera. Pretty good. I can go out a little bit. If I stick the diffuser on here, as you can see, it's even more diffused. It really cuts the throw of the light. As you can see, it's the same power level it was on. I can go to turbo, and now we've got this just massive diffuser. Pretty neat, almost like a lantern or better. Definitely more output here. No defined hotspot. Nice little addition to come with this light. I received a comment on my HL3A review that I should really calibrate my FW series of lights before I do a heat and runtime test. While I still firmly believe that this is necessary, it's something the factory should do, I decided I would do heat and runtime tests, both uncalibrated and calibrated, and compare just to show you the difference. So my first test was with an uncalibrated light here using a Sony VTC6 battery, and I started in turbo. Pretty much instantly the light starts to decrease in output, and at the 30-second mark where the FL1 standard is given, the light had decreased from about the 400% relative output where it started to around 100%, and I say that's where that FL1 standard of relative output is given. Now this sounds like a lot, and it is for a decrease, but the light's still quite bright, and it's to be expected for something this small putting out that much energy. The light reaches equilibrium at about 60% relative output, where it runs for 2 hours and 35 minutes, and eventually gets down to 10% relative output at 3 hours and 32 minutes of runtime. Maximum temperature I saw was 38.7 C, about 101 Fahrenheit at the 13-minute mark, and the bulk of the output was around the 36 C mark. For my calibrated runtime, I ran the same battery, and the calibration set, what it does is sets the room temperature and then allows you to set a ceiling of how high you want to go. I raised it an extra 25 degrees if my memory serves correctly. I used the same battery and setting. What I saw here was an initial drop from turbo, but it was much smaller and it ran a little bit longer. And you can see a little bit of step here in the graph at the 20-second mark before it decreased again. At the 30-second mark, the calibrated light was putting out a little bit more output and was 2.8 C warmer more since it was allowed to run harder for longer. The next 11 minutes though is where the output again increased slowly as temps were allowed to increase as well. Total runtime here was 1 hour and 42 minutes, but you ended up with the ability to run a much brighter light without stepping down as far. Maximum temperature here was 57.2 C, 134 degrees at the 24-minute mark. And while this is quite hot, it was much longer than the uncalibrated light, and it's adjustable too if you don't want to go this hot. The 57.2 C, about 134 degrees, is pretty warm to hold in your hand. Your solutions there are don't set your ceiling so high or don't run your light at the highest available output. Step it down to only the levels you need. UI here is the same Anduril that works well. I'll link to my FW4A review where I really go into this in depth, and I'll put a diagram as well. It looks a little complicated, but once you get the hang of it, it's not too bad. It works pretty well. It doesn't bother me that the flashing modes are in a different kind of hard to reach space. As I mentioned, I did calibrate the light and temp sensor on this light using a video I found on YouTube for that. If you'd be interested in me making a video like this, please leave that comment in the video below. This is using the standard ramping mode, and I've got mine in stepped right now. Don't forget you've got ramping mode like I've got set on my FW4A, and it's pretty easy to switch between those with 3 short presses. My conclusion here is that the FW4A is yet another nice light of this series. It's a lot of output in a very small package with minimal increasing size. That said, with an increase in output, it's a step up in heat too. The FW4A, at least right now, has less modding potential than the FW4A, but if it catches on and becomes more popular, you might see different optic, turbo glow being offered, etc. I like this light, and I think it's a little bit more aimed at the enthusiast market with the Anduril UI and somewhat dangerous nature of the power in a small package, and it's a little finicky in nature like the FW series of lights can be. That said, it still offers a lot of fun in a pretty affordable light and small package too. I wouldn't hesitate to recommend the FW4A if you were looking for a small quad, like the FW series of lights. Maybe you had an FW4A. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you've got any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. And as always, thanks for watching this video, and I'll catch you on the next review.